Have you ever asked yourself, should I go tree planting? And then that has led to a bunch of other fucking questions about the industry. Well, I'm here to answer those questions. If you're also in the KKR Facebook group, you're probably seeing the same amount of posts that I am. Posts every single day about people trying to get a job as a tree planter. Whether they're talking about how motivated they are, how they've wanted to do something like this for years and it's only now finally lining up. Maybe they know somebody who has been a planter and now they want to experience that same challenge. But among all these posts, there's one thing that everyone's kind of doing and everyone's just sort of asking questions. So what I thought I would do for this video is I would look at the 9 most commonly asked questions that I'm seeing online or that I've been asked to myself in person about how somebody gets a job in the industry. Now, I'm not going to answer questions from people who already have a job and are looking for some training tips. I'm really going to focus on questions that are asked by people who are still on the fence of whether or not they actually want to go tree planting, or maybe they just don't know if it's the right fit for them. So here are my answers for the 9 most commonly asked questions I am seeing from people who are trying to decide if they should go tree planting. The first one's simple. First question is, how do I apply? Well, there are 2 ways. You can go on the KKR Facebook group. This is a group that has over 30,000 people in it. And among those people, you've got tree planters, crew bosses, supervisors, tree deliverers, quality inspectors. If it's a job in the industry, those people are probably going to be on KKR. And among a lot of those, there are hiring managers. So it is very possible for you to post a little blurb about yourself, some pictures, talk about where you want to start planting and why you want to start. And you might get reached out to and end up getting an interview from that. But with every contract and company in Canada that plants trees and the tens of millions of trees that are being planted every year here, that's a lot of tree planters who are getting hired. And not all of those roles are going to be filled because of the KKR Facebook group. Only a small fraction of people are actually going to get hired as a tree planter on KKR. And there's a big chance that whatever post you make, it might just fall through the cracks because there are a lot of people doing the same thing, especially as we get closer to the season starting. There's a lot of people kind of flooding that group with posts trying to get a job. The second way is the way that I recommend. The thing with tree planting is that the way you get a job is the same way you get a job anywhere else. You apply online. So all of these tree planting companies, they all have websites, they all have an application portal that you can upload a resume, a cover letter, whatever, and submit that. They're going to look at it, they're going to reach out if they want to have an interview with you or they're not. It is the same thing as any other job that you're going to get. So to apply, post on KKR or just apply online. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Second question is the money worth it? Fuck yeah, it is. It's no secret. This is probably the #1 thing that brings people out to the bush. It's the earning potential. Tree planting is piecework. So the more amount of trees that you put in the ground, the more amount of money you're going to make. You get paid per tree. So you're going to have 2 people going out there doing the exact same job, doing the same hours, but they're going to make a different amount of money because they planted a different amount of trees. And depending on where you are, you're going to look at tree prices anywhere between 11 cents to upwards of 40 cents per tree. A quick side note, the way that this is counted is depending on the nursery that you're working with. So let's look at one of the nurseries I plant the most of, PRTs. The PRTs that I plant, they come in boxes of a certain amount of trees. So if I'm planting a box of jack pine, there are 600 trees in that box. Once I plant that box, I'm at 600. If at the end of the day I planted 5 boxes, I planted 3,000 trees, I get paid for those 3,000 trees. Third question is, how much does it cost to start tree planting? It can be quite the investment starting off as a tree planter, especially if you don't have anything of what you're going to need. When I first started, I didn't have a tent, I didn't have a good sleeping bag, I didn't really have anything that I could bring out to the bush, so I had to buy it all brand new. So if you're looking at getting a tent, I'd recommend getting a decent tent. I did a 4-person, I think it costed me like $400. The spade and the shovel costed me about $200. My biggest piece of advice to new planters is to not cheap out on their boots. And I recommend getting 2 pairs of boots, so that could bring you up to about $300, $400 if you're getting a solid pair of boots. If you're getting new planting clothing, some like athletic wear, your hard hats, your high visibility, if you're getting all of that, you're looking at another couple $100 probably. So to start tree planting right off the hop, especially if you don't have any of that stuff, you're looking at about $1,000 minimum. If you do it on quite the budget, it gets pretty expensive to buy everything that you're going to need. Question number 4, this is probably the one that I see asked the most and the one that I was also asking a lot of people when I decided to start planting. It's, do I need any kind of experience or certifications to start planting? No, you don't need anything. You don't need relevant experience. You do not need certifications. You don't need your license. You don't need any of that kind of stuff. In this industry, being a tree planter, that's the entry-level job. Above tree planting, there's a lot of room to grow. You can start crew bossing, you can start quality inspecting, tree delivering, maybe you supervise a camp one of those days. If you're gonna do one of those roles, then yes, you are going to need certain licenses, certain certifications, all that kind of stuff. But if you're just planting, there's nothing that you actually need. Now, of course, there's going to be exceptions. There might be a company out there that I don't know about that does require all of their rookies to have a license so that they can drive and get onto the insurance. But all of the major companies that I have seen, or all the planters that I have talked to, they haven't needed anything to simply apply and be considered as a tree planter. The only exception to this that I want to point out is it is dependent on where you are applying. If you're trying to get a job on coastal BC and Canada, that is regarded as the toughest, probably the most hardcore corner of the industry, just because of the terrain that they plant in, the quality specifications. Like, those are some hardcore motherfuckers that plant out there, and they're not going to feel inclined to hire rookies. So if you are trying to get on as a rookie, you're looking at more interior BC, definitely looking towards the East Coast, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. Ontario is a great spot to start learning how to be a tree planter before you head out there. Other than that though, there are no requirements that you need to apply as a tree planter and be considered. Fifth question. I fucking love this question. Am I too old to be a tree planter? That depends, honestly, but what I will say on that is that a lot of people misunderstand how physically demanding the job is. And when I say that, I mean it's not as physically demanding as people think. Yes, the job is fucking tough. You are wearing anywhere between 70 and 10 pounds of seedlings on your back. You're wearing heavy boots and heavy gear. You're trudging through logged forests, climbing over trees, climbing uphill. Maybe you're in swamps, and every step you take, you're getting sucked into the fucking ground. So the job itself takes a physical toll. But however, believe it or not, your body kind of gets used to it. After a couple shifts, you're gonna notice that there's less tension on your back. You're not getting as tired. You're not gassing out as early. The blisters have kind of stopped. The real battle is the mental side of it. This is from my experience and the experience of a lot of people I talk to. Tree planting is more mental than physical. At the same time, it's a lot of the physical elements that cause you to have a mental fucking breakdown. So do not worry about your age and your fitness. I'm fucking 31 years old and I balled the camp last year. Question number 6. This one was something that I was asking in my rookie season because I didn't actually land my job until about 2 weeks before the season started. Is it too late to apply? It's almost never too late to apply as a tree planter. This is because a lot of these companies are hiring people and doing their interviews back in November for a season that doesn't start until April or May. A lot can happen in somebody's life in 4 to 5 months. They get a new job, they decide to go to school, they move away. Who knows what it is, but there's a lot of things that cause people to back out last minute, like in April. But not only that, there's a lot of people who are quitting in the first couple shifts of the season, and crew bosses do not want to go into a season with less than the most amount of people they can have on their crew. If a crew boss can have 11 planters, they don't want to roll with 9. They're just going to make less money. So a crew boss wants to have a full crew. This will mean that while we're setting up camp, if they have an opening on their crew, they're going to be conducting interviews and hiring people on the spot to start a job. So I can almost guarantee you that even if we're looking at mid-April, beginning of May, there are going to be tree planting jobs. There's going to be crew bosses trying to fill out their crew because people quitting or backing out last minute. You just have to find those jobs. Question number 7. I don't actually see this one asked that often, but I did see it on KKR this morning, so I figured I would include it in this. It is, do I have a chance of being hired as a rookie over a vet? Honestly, companies are always going to prioritize hiring a vet over a rookie, but that doesn't mean that you do not have a chance of getting hired. In my experience, from what I've seen, the average lifespan of a planter is like 2 to 3 years, and not many people stay in the industry long term unless they move up into a management role like quality inspecting, tree delivering, or usually crew bossing. So what this means is that there's a really high turnover every single year of vets, which just open up more spots for rookies. Do not let the fear of being a rookie hold you back from applying because you think that vets are going to have the chance over you. Every single major company in Canada that plants trees hire rookies every single year. Question number 8, the second last question that I'm going to talk about, is what company or province should I apply to? This really depends on what you are looking for. When you think about tree planting, you kind of just default think about BC. In BC, you have the highest percentage, but you also have the most amount of quality specifications, and the job as a tree planter has a bit more responsibility as, let's say, if you were to start planting in Ontario. Ontario is considered speed planting, where the quality specifications and the land is set up to kind of help you plant more amount of trees, but for a much lower percentage than out in BC. If you were looking for a very laid back, kind of a chill real entry into the industry, then look more East Coast. I always go to Nova Scotia for the fall. I fucking love it out there, but it is very laid back. So you really just need to ask yourself what you were looking for. Are you looking for the most amount of money possible per tree? You're looking at BC than if you were to go in Ontario, where you're gonna get paid a little bit less, but there is more opportunity for you to plant more than if you did in BC. I'm not saying you're not gonna go out and highball in BC. The BC planters I know are unbelievable. They're crazy out there and they're planting insane numbers. They're planting very similar to Ontario numbers, but they were all Ontario rookies before they moved out there, at least the ones that I know. And the last question number 9, how hard is it really? It's fucking hard. Tree planting is a pretty badass fucking job. If you have not done the job, do your research, make sure you know every single challenge that you are going to face, because the last thing you want to do is show up and quit. That's bad for you, it's bad for the company, it's bad for your crew boss. So really know the challenges that you are going to face when you get out there, because there's a lot of them, and I promise you that even if you think you know how tough it's going to be, you're not ready for it. Next Friday, that is the sole purpose of my video. That is all it's about, is every single challenge you're going to face, and I'm really going to dive deep into what those challenges look like, my advice when you're facing them, and really just help prepare you for the kind of shit you're going to see when you get out there. Anyways, I hope I was able to clear a few things up. I really didn't want to dive into each of those questions. I just wanted to provide pretty quick, basic answers, because I do plan on really diving into everything that I just talked about. Each of these questions is going to basically end up being a full video. I just wanted to get into a little bit of it right now. And again, I'm just answering questions for people who are on the fence about applying. They haven't done it yet. They still don't know if it's the right decision for them. I'm not going to be going into anything where it talks about how to get prepared for this season if you already have the job. That's coming a little bit later. But to everybody who has actually shown love and support, thank you. Look out for the video next week where I talk about all the challenges that tree planters face. And until then, like, subscribe, and just remember, 2 steps tree, baby.